to Sisters with Superpowers, where we celebrate dynamic Black women shaping our world. I'm Tanya Williams, and today we are honored to have a true force in politics and activism, Ashanti Gholar. As the president of Emerge, she has been dedicated to recruiting, training, and empowering Democratic women to run for office and win. From her grassroots activism to leading an organization that has trained over 6,000 women, Ashanti is a change maker who is redefining political leadership. We are so excited to dive into her journey, her impact, and of course, her superpower. Welcome, Ashanti.
Oh, thank you for having me, Tanya. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm really excited you decided to do this, and I'm so glad to be talking to you during the time that we're in. I have been impressed and admired you for many years, watching you helping women to really realize their power and really uplifting them through your award-winning podcast as well. But so to me, I think your superpower is the art of connecting people. But is that true for you? What do you feel like is your superpower?
I definitely feel that I am a connector. I love bringing people together. I'm an organizer at heart. But something a lot of people have said to me lately with my work is that I make them feel seen. And I think that just always makes me smile a lot. And I think that is my big superpower because it's coming from people when I didn't expect them to say that at all. Every year at Emerge, I call our alums that win, and I also call our alums that don't win. Because when you don't win, the phone stops ringing. No
Mhm.
one really cares anymore. And I think that's upsetting. And I want to call them and let them know I'm so grateful that they allowed Emerge to be on their journey. I'm so grateful that they put their name on the ballot. And I'm so grateful for them running a great race. And particularly last November, the 2024 election, I just had so many of our women say, thank you for seeing me, but especially our Black women. They said, thank you so much for seeing me. So I think that has become one of my superpowers. But I just see great women and I want them to run for office. I want for them to be involved in politics because we definitely need more of us in the political ecosystem.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you focus in on also the women who don't win, who don't make it over that finish line, because what's next is probably one of the most important things that they'll do with their lives after they've gone through the experience of running for office. You championed women in politics for years. What inspired you to take that path?
So for me, I never ever thought I would be leading a national women's organization. I never thought I would be in politics, but I just fell in love with politics one day when I was a kid and I discovered C-SPAN. And I don't know how I discovered it, if it was a clip somewhere on TV, but I was just so intrigued by all of these people that were passionate and arguing about the future of the country. And I was like, why do I have to watch these kids shows? I can watch this. You have
Right.
geography, people are from different states, you have to know the math to count the votes, there's debate. I was just so fascinated with this thing called politics, didn't know what it was called. But immediately as a young girl, I knew that I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. I didn't see a lot of women. I didn't see a lot of Black and Brown people. So
Mhm.
it automatically makes you think, okay, I love this, but can I be involved in this?
Right.
And I had an amazing government teacher, Mrs. Sam King, in high school. She was very politically engaged. You never knew what side of the aisle that she was on because she just knew everyone and she would bring them in to talk to us. We could volunteer in their campaigns. And I would always volunteer on the campaigns of women because back then, pretty much whenever a woman was running, it would mean she would be the first. So I wanted to make sure that I was there helping support along the way, creating more women in my home state, which was just very, very male dominated. And then one day Emerge came. They were setting up their Nevada affiliate. By this time, I had graduated high school. I was working for Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley. And I knew that I wanted to be engaged with changing the face of politics in our home state. And what I liked is that it was building infrastructure, which meant that they just weren't going to come in, do some work, and leave, which I saw all the time with the presidential races that I have been involved in. There was just so much energy. And then after the election, everyone left and abandoned us. And I
Mhm.
knew this was going to be different. And I wanted to focus on having more women in these positions. And it just became my passion. Whenever I had the opportunity to work for women, I would jump at the chance. And now, just to be here during this time when we have a federal government that strikes out the word female and woman from words that the government uses, it's only fired me up more to show the importance of needing women in leadership and especially in politics.
That's great. And you mentioned, building an infrastructure and really a foundation. In your work, you focused on centering the new American majority. That's women of color, LGBTQ plus, young women, unmarried women. Why is there a representation? Why is their representation in office so critical right now?
When I took over Emerge, we were just finishing up our previous vision, which was expanding our affiliate reach and starting to expand new programming. So I had to create the new vision with the team. And we knew we just wanted to get back to the basics. That's literally what my PowerPoint presentation to the team said. What I heard is we want to get back to the basics. And going through that process, I know I had to look to the future. What is the country going to look like in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? And it was very obvious that the new American majority was going to continue to rise. And that's all those people that you named: Black, Brown, and Indigenous women, women of color, young women, unmarried women, LGBTQ women. They are a growing political force at the ballot box. So many of the victories that we have seen, especially with putting diverse women in office, have come from this group. And it's our job to make sure that they just don't go out there and vote, to let them know that they can put their name on the ballot as well. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing the work now in this moment to start harnessing their energy to be political leaders. And our Emerge 2035 vision, it's a 15-year vision that we created. We just finished the first third. Now we're in the second third. It's been great. We've actually seen an increase in our new American majority numbers at our national level for trainings, at our state level for trainings. And it goes back to my superpower that I mentioned. People have said, okay, just the fact that you all are so bold about this, that you centered an entire vision around us, lets us feel seen. And we know that you want us here. And we even have a program called Seated Together, which is an expansion of our programming. And that is for Black women elected officials who want to run for higher office, because we know that is extremely important. Women, especially Black women in particular, are told to bloom where they're planted. I think that's something the patriarchy teaches us. Just be happy people voted for you and you won and you get to be in here making decisions. No, we can continue to ascend. And with Seated Together, it's been extremely popular. It was co-founded by now Congresswoman Amelia Sykes back when she was in the State House, and Colorado Representative Leslie Herod. We have done 3 cohorts. We're recruiting now for the 4th cohort. But my favorite stat about what happens when you focus on the new American majority, especially Black women, is the first 3 cohorts of Seated Together have produced a member of Congress. The first cohort, I know, I love this stat. The first cohort gave us Congresswoman Sykes, the co-founder of Seated Together. The second cohort gave us Janelle Bynum, who was elected in November. She is the first Black woman to represent Oregon. Let me say that again, y'all. She is the first Black woman to represent Oregon. So we know that's a big, big deal. And then we have Congresswoman LaMonica McIver from the 3rd cohort, who won the special election to replace Congressman Payne when he passed away. And that primary had over a dozen people in it, and she still won. So this is what happens when you give the new American majority a place to go to get the recruitment and training. We see great success.
Yes, and this is also what happens when You don't focus in on the things you may have lost in one election cycle.
Whew, oh my goodness.
Field. Like, it's a
Yeah.
process. It happens over years. And
Mhm.
it is so inspiring to see that it's not about one cycle. It's about, as you said,
Yeah.
the women ascending and
Yeah.
continuing to ascend. And I love that. We are living in a defining and a chaotic time in our nation's history. And
I
what if,
love how you said that without cussing.
well, I had to work with it.
Yes, it is all of those.
All of those things and some other things as well.
Yes.
But what advice do you have for women, especially Black and Brown women, who want to find a way not just to survive this time that we're in, but to thrive in this moment?
Yes, this is a question that I am getting a lot, especially from Black women. I participated in some activities around the joint address, doing some media, speaking to candidates, even speaking to elected officials. And they said, okay, what can we do right now to get women involved, especially those who are so burnt out
Mhm.
after the last election cycle? Because yet again, we gave it our all. And I just have to remind us that the burnout, the non-participation, the disengagement is what they want. These are the
Mhm.
people who are striking woman and female from words the government can say and focus on. Part of the plan is to make us feel unseen. And the best feeling is letting them know that they did not do that, that we are still here, that we are fighting back. It's why we're unfortunately seeing them wanting to clamp down on protests, because the majority of those protests are being led by women.
Mhm.
And what we really have to do is focus on the micro, not the macro. That is my big thing. They want us to be in so many different directions. They're going to strike down the Department of Education. They're messing with our veterans. They're going to touch our Medicaid, our Social Security. Think about the ways that you can incorporate activism into your everyday life. And that's going to make it so much more sustainable for you. If you go to church every Sunday, let people know that you'll be coming a little bit early or you'll be staying a little bit late so y'all can organize and talk about what is happening and how do you reach out to other community leaders, elected officials regarding those issues that are impacting you. If you are a part of a parent teacher organization, let the other parents know that you will draft the sample templates that can be used, be sent to school board members, elected officials about how XYZ is going to hurt the children in the community in XYZ ways. That will make it so much easier for other people to get involved and support as well and make their voices heard. If you are involved in community or social clubs, think about the people in your network who would benefit from coming to the meeting if they're going to be talking about a specific issue. And then text them and say, hey, join me. I really think that you would enjoy what is being said here. If you see something that an elected official is doing that is great or not so great, and you have people that live in their district, just send them the text saying, FYI, this is something that's going on. I think we've just gotten so accustomed, especially because of the history in our country. We're marchers, we're fighters, we're a million people strong. That's what we've always seen. And if we don't see it, then we think that action isn't happening. And we know that is not true. In this moment, community is so important. And it's going to be those everyday small things that we do to stay engaged, to uplift others, to fight back. That's what we need in this moment. Just because you're not planning a march with 10,000 people does not mean that you're not being effective. Those little things are what will continue to make sure that we are a country that fights back and uses our voices and that we're a democracy. Those are the things that happen in a democracy.
I really, really love that because I think that we Black women have finally given ourselves permission to rest.
Yeah.
Um, but that does not mean that the resistance doesn't continue. And I love
Mhm.
the way you have the remedy for that has been to make sure that we insert it in our everyday lives, which
Yeah.
life will continue to life, and continue
Mm.
to go. And so we can resist in those ways. I really love that. Have you seen now? I'm sure there are some women who say, no, I want to run for office. Have you seen that uptick and can you talk about that?
We have, right after the election, we extended the deadlines to apply to our Emerge programs. And we had lots of women apply. They were the women who immediately knew that they wanted to run for office. So we accepted them into our state affiliate programs, our national signature program. And it's very much like what I was just talking about with the last question. We knew that it was going to come in waves, that there's going to be different moments after women rested, they had some time to reflect, that they were going to step up and run. And I feel right now we're seeing that next wave. At the time of us recording it hasn't even really been 2 months yet, but
Mhm.
so much has happened. And every time something big happens, it does awake another group of sleeping giant women who know that, okay, I'm doing my micro, but I think I'm going to take it up a little notch and step up and run for office. And that is so important right now because nothing changes if we don't replace many of these policymakers. We really need people paying attention to how are some of their elected leaders voting for what is happening, how are they supporting what is happening, or how are they indifferent to what
Mm,
is happening? Are
yeah.
they not even addressing it to you as a constituent, as a voter, as someone in their community? People really bank on people not running to stay in these seats. There are people who have not been challenged for decades. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Like you will hear people say, they just been our ex representative for 20 years, 30 years. My family member was at their swearing in.
Mm,
It is very true. And yes, we love legacies. Legacies are important. I love legacy building, but a lot of those people aren't serving. And
right.
you're in that role to service your community, to service the people there. They work for us as the voter. So I'm really excited about the women who are stepping up to run and taking it back to the micro. Not everyone's running for Congress, not everyone's running for governor. You can run for your local school board, water board, you can do the city council, you can run to be a state rep. There's 520,000 elected offices in this country.
Wow.
The majority of them are at the state and local level. And that is where the big impact on our daily lives are at. And those are the races we really need women stepping up to run for.
I think people forget that more than anything, that the role that state and local government play in our lives and play in our
Mm,
everyday lives, and not even forget it, just don't know that. So thank
mm.
you for reminding us of that. I want to go to your podcast. So you founded the Brown Girls Guide to Politics, which has been really recognized and honored for its impact, has been award winning. What inspired you to create that space, and
Yeah.
has been the most rewarding part of that to you?
Yeah, I created the BGG in 2018, and the idea came to me one day. I was up early on my way to do a training. So Tanya's former colleague was there, Muthoni. I was about to go train in Texas with Muthoni. So I was just in the back of the lift checking my email, and I had an email from a young woman who wanted advice on how to get into politics. And at the time, I was just the political director of Emerge, and I was just getting more and more emails like that. Because for me, even to be a political director at one of these national Black women's organizations was huge. We were not really represented in that way. And I just wanted to find out a way to help them. I'm literally where I'm at because of other Black women who lifted me up, believed in me, saw things in me I didn't see in myself. And I'm very much about paying it forward. And I just started thinking, what's the best way for me to share this advice? And that's when the BGG came to me. And it just started off as a blog. And I reached out to some of my friends and I said, hey, want to join me in putting all our political business on the internet to help out other young women who want to get involved in politics? And several of them said yes. And we did a series called Being the Only Brown Girl in the Room.
Mm.
And it was our most read series and remains our most read series because we talked about what it was like, how hard it was, very lonely. And the stories were the same for Black women, Indian women, Indigenous women, Asian women, Latinas. When you're in the room and you're the only brown girl, you you were carrying a lot.
Mhm.
So then someone said, I would love to hear more about this. I love the writing, but I want to hear more. So we ended up turning the blog into also having a podcast, and we launched the Brown Girls Guide to Politics podcast. And the reception has been amazing. When I started off on this journey with the BGG, I never expected it to blow up the way that it did. And it's just my love letter to other brown girls in politics to let them know here's a resource for you. But to see it expand when I will have professors tag me because some of the interviews are in their curriculum. I'll
Oh,
have, young women tag me in Instagram stories saying, I just got my first job in politics, binge listening to the Brown Girls Guide to Politics podcast to get ready. And even the white men who would email me saying that it helped them understand more what it was like for women of color in the workplace and has helped them become better allies, I think is a big one.
I think that's amazing. That really
Yeah.
is. You are really young, so this might be a question you're like, yeah, but I got it. What legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Mm,
I mean, there's so much taking shape in your career. I'm sure, I mean,
yeah.
there's so much more for you to do, but what legacy have you thought about your legacy and what do you hope to sort of leave behind in the space of politics?
Just to let women know that they belong, that there is absolutely space for them in politics. A lot of people like to reference the 19th Amendment and women getting the right to vote. We know that was for some women,
Right.
not all women. And we have to realize it hasn't been 100 years for a lot of us. And we're just getting started. But if we don't continue to show up, be involved, hold our rightful place, hold power, nothing really changes. So even if it's donating $5 a month to a candidate that you love, to door knocking, to phone banking, to going to rallies, getting involved in a political organization, and of course, putting your name on the ballot to run for office. That's just the legacy that I want is that women know that they do belong in these spaces. And I know I look really young. I just celebrated a birthday, so I turned 44.
Happy birthday. Yes,
Thank
very
you.
young.
you know, just really letting them know that there is space here and we need for them to show up so we can continue this work.
Yes, and for our audience, young, not meaning not experienced and not
Yeah.
okay. We've already heard C-SPAN, okay? Since I want to thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your superpower, your story, and what really inspires you to keep going. One last question I have to ask. I wasn't going to ask this, but I have to. Self-care, and
Mhm.
we talked about the work. We talked about resting when not even resting when we can, but sort of like waking the sleeping giant and
Yeah.
the fight continuing. What as a leader, how do you practice self-care and how has that been transformative to your work?
Yes. And I'm going to be honest, this is something I had to learn. I
Mhm.
took over Emerge in February 2020, right when the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So it was very heavy. I was working from home. I was a new executive trying to figure this all out. And I wasn't prioritizing myself. Everything was work, 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 work. because I was sitting all day, I ended up having to go to the chiropractor.
Mm,
And then one day when leaving the chiropractor, I had chiropractor and then I had acupuncture, which are two of my favorite things now for self care. But then, literally, after acupuncture, you're all zen and you're happy. And then I get the alert on my phone that I have a Zoom call. So immediately, all the zen went away.
mhm,
So then it's like I'm driving home, I'm on the phone, and I'm one of those people when I'm driving, that's my music time. I
mhm.
love listening to music. That's part of my self care. So I'm not getting that. And at that moment, I just said, I can't do this anymore. So it also just became little things that I would do every single day. Particularly in this moment, I've been talking a lot about the app called Opal, OPAL, that I use to limit my social media to an hour a day.
Oh,
And it has been a game changer because self care is not consuming all of this
yes.
24/7. That is huge. So I also have it blocked from 12 to 1. You can set up your own sessions to block, you can set up time blocks. And in that 12 to 1 block, I have it on, which means when I'm eating lunch, I'm not on my phone because my
Mhm.
social media is blocked. So I'm actually enjoying my lunch and maybe reading a book or listening to a podcast. And that has been really great. I'm just very intentional about closing my laptop at a certain time so I can start to unwind and get ready for bed to chill. During the day, it can just be shutting the laptop and I'm just going to walk around the house if I'm working from home or if I'm traveling like I am now, just take a quick walk around the block. So for me, I think self care has become just those little things that we can do every day. Like I love massages, like love getting my nails and toes done. Tanya and I go to the same nail salon.
Yeah.
So we see each other there getting our little self-care in. But I really want for us to reimagine that self-care can just be at home watching YouTube, having your home goods candle lit. So I'm not sure if we still shop at Home Goods though. I think they may be on the list. They may be about,
Okay. I didn't know if they were
but
listed.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I have changed that.
Yeah.
We're at home, we're lighting our forever mood candles, which is Black owned. Love forever mood candles and just enjoying yourself. So even if you can get 5 minutes of quiet a day, I think everyone should consider that self-care because it is a game changer for your mental state.
That is so, so great. I'm so glad I asked you that. But so again, I want to thank you for joining us. Before we got on, actually, I was watching the celebration of life services for Dr. Hazel Dukes. And
Mhm.
what really struck me as I was listening to people talk about her life was that and I was like, I'm about to talk to Ashanti, and hearing you talk, it made me think like th- the power of Black women's leadership. It's
Mhm.
alive and well. It will continue.
Yeah.
And so I just, it really, this conversation just really connected the dots for me that
Oh,
although we have recently lost an amazing and bright light in our world, we continue to have more bright lights, and that's you. And so I just want to,
oh, thank you.
and I had to say that, and thank you for sharing with us, and thank you to our Sisters with Superpowers audience. And as I always say, take care. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.